Alright everybody, we're going to look at my garden and we're going to talk about different plants and how they've adapted. So this is a garden that I planted a year ago. Some of these plants are newer. Obviously I need to water it, so don't judge me. So first I have right here, this is some rosemary. If you look at the leaves, you can see they're kind of long and narrow. You can't smell it obviously through a video, but it's very fragrant. So this rosemary grew all year. When I first planted it, it looked like this other rosemary. Similar growth pattern, but notice how this one's much lower to the ground. Why do you think my one here in the front has grown so much taller? What has caused it to change its growth structures? Next up, we're gonna look at some mint. So last year, you can see this stick right here. This was actually a stick of mint last year. If you look really closely, you can see this kind of thistle-like structure at the end, which could possibly be some sort of seed pod. So maybe think about how that seed would be dispersed. But if you look at this mint, so last year you can see by the stick, it was really tall and it was actually really bushy, like even bushier than this rosemary. If you look at this mint though, you can see it's not growing like that this year. There's different shoots that are coming up from the ground. Why do you think it's adapted like that? So before you answer that question, let me tell you something. This mint actually was not even out of the ground for probably not until like a month ago. So there was a solid like 4 or 5 months where this was completely hidden. There was no growth. So something happened to it throughout the year in the seasons that caused it to lay dormant. What do you think that would be? Okay. The last thing I want to talk about and show you, if I can, is this grass. So when we made this garden, when we planted it, we did put a liner on underneath to keep the grass out, but obviously it's still growing through. So if you dig this grass up, you can see if I can pull out a whole chain of them, but they're all connected. So remember when I'll try again. Sorry, I'm not a good grass digger. So remember when we were talking about grasses in our descriptions, here we go. In our descriptions of grasses, we talked about how they formed clones and they grew up in different shoots. There we go. Why do you think this grass does that? Notice I don't see any flowers on this grass. I'm not saying that it doesn't flower, but there aren't any flowers on it. Why do you think it's adapted to grow that way? All right, think about these things. Let me know what you think in the comments on this video or in the class wall. And we'll talk on Monday. Have a great weekend.